Are you a woman in leadership that sometimes feels overwhelmed by the consistent demands from your organization and from your team? Well, I have 5 tips for busy women in leadership that will help you clear some mental space so you have more time to focus on those responsibilities, prioritize your task, and be able to minimize that mental clutter at work and also at home. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jasmine, and I believe in smart tips for a glowing life will lead to less stress and more time for beauty. In today's video, I am going to give you 5 tips that help me minimize that mental fatigue that can be had when juggling multiple responsibilities and priorities from work and from home. These 5 tips help me show up as my best self, whether I'm at work or when I'm at home, or even if it's for myself. I use these tips quite frequently throughout my day. In doing so, sometimes I do have mental fatigue. That is general, but I have organized pieces of my life in a way where I don't have to think about some of those things. If you have watched some of my previous vlogs, you will know that one of my catchphrases, I'm starting to call them catchphrases, and the kids call it catchphrases as well. One of my catchphrases is either not interested, or I don't like thinking about it, or I don't want to think about that. And once I say that, that is a trigger or a cue for me to know that it is time to create maybe a routine or a time management saving tool to help this one thing that I don't want to think about no longer be something that I have to think about. The 5 tips are: optimize routines, simplify decision making or focusing on what matters, build a strong support system, focusing or creating time management strategies to help minimize mental fatigue, and prioritizing self-care. Prioritizing self-care is definitely the most important one, because when you prioritize your self-care, you are showing up for yourself. How in the world can you really show up for others in a leadership capacity when you have different things going on with you that need to be addressed? It is utterly impossible. I've lived it, I know that, and it is utterly impossible. So those are my 5 tips that I have integrated into my life. I'm going to talk about each generally, and I hope to expand this into maybe a series to talk about each one individually in more detail. So the first one generally is optimizing routines. Everyone talks about routines and having a skincare routine. I recently just did a nighttime skincare routine in which I talked about 5 products that were functional for me, where I didn't have to think about when to use them or how to use them. They could just be used at any time. I can link this video in here if you are interested, or in the description bar if you are interested. But optimizing routines for me means creating routines that are predictable, that can be replicated if I have to modify them in a certain way. Maybe I need to swap out one product or one item for another item. Optimizing routines has been so beneficial for me. I know exactly what to expect, and I do not have to necessarily think about the steps. They've become a habit. So I have a certain skincare routine in the morning. I have a certain skincare routine at night. I have a certain routine in the morning when I am getting ready for work. I have a certain routine throughout the week when I am scheduling some of the items for my self-care, or when I am scheduling certain things for the kids when they have things that they need to do or priorities that they need to meet. Optimizing routines is wonderful. There are some aspects of that I still struggle with, so sometimes I have issues with how to create a routine for my youngest son in his schoolwork, or how do we create routines in the home for them, so that way they know it's now time to do this, and this is how you do this thing, maybe cleaning the bathroom or cleaning up their room. It is something that I am working on with my husband, with the children, but at least having routines at home, like the skincare routines and things like that, minimizes the mental fatigue at home for some of the different things that I know I need to do. Routines at work are very fundamental to my day-to-day success in the workplace. I have a specific morning routine that I do every single morning when I come to work, and I do not deviate from that routine for anything, for anyone, unless it's an emergency. I do not deviate from that routine. I have set up my day in a way where I know to check my emails, or I know to check my work calendar. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've optimized it in a way where I know how much time I need for each one of those things. So that way I have more time in the rest of my work day for anything else that may come up. That routine ensures that all of my tasks that I am responsible for directly are completed before focusing on other tasks that may come throughout the day. That leads us into simplifying decision making, or focusing on what matters. In a leadership position, most of the time you have staff that report to you. And those staff do look to you for leadership and for guidance in the realm of decision making. In my organization, I am at the top in my office. And I have managerial staff that report to me. And so I lean on those individuals to make a lot of decisions for me at their level that they can make. A lot of times there are situations that I face that are kind of similar, and I can categorize them into how I want to handle those particular decisions. And a lot of those decisions do have a specific route for an answer. I like to think about them that way. Now, of course, there's other caveats that may come through revelations of different challenges or struggles that the staff may be facing that may need to be considered and may change the decision that I need to make. But in most cases, a lot of the issues that I face in my organization have a specific answer to those issues. Whenever I encounter those situations, I immediately deviate to those answers. I don't have to think about those answers because I already know this situation fits this tree. This is the answer for that. That leaves me time for when there is a more complex issue to spend more time digging deeper into that issue. I can spend more time on that issue versus the quick, easy issue that's already been addressed, because that already has that branch of the decision-making tree as to what the answer is for that decision. I like doing that. It gives me more time to focus, like I said, on more complex issues within my office, more complex situations within my office. I can spend much more time in mental capacity making those decisions. At home, we each kind of have our own roles between me and Rocky and our responsibilities. And so we lean on each other to follow through on those roles. And so Rocky does the cooking. That is his role in the decision making. So for me, I don't necessarily need to make that decision unless there's something that I want, that I request. He makes that decision versus me. I'll put the kids in certain activities, or I will go ahead and schedule the doctor's appointment because that is what I'm good at. That is my specialty. That helps us on both ends in our partnership minimize the amount of time that we need to make decisions on certain tasks. And for us, it's kind of unspoken. It's really strange. Like mental telepathy, I guess. It's kind of unspoken how we do certain things, but it works, and that's just what we do. Which leans into this next area. Build a strong support system. Women in leadership face so much backlash, disrespect, confusion, doubt, and it is really, really important to build a strong support system that will help you navigate decisions or build perspective in your decision making, tell you when you're wrong, and also validate you and give you positive reinforcement when sometimes it feels like there is none. My husband is that person. I have a strong friend group who does that. I have other women in leadership that I can confide in when I need that support. And I also have therapy. Therapy has been such a strong tool for me in my leadership capacity to really help me gain perspective into what my role is as a leader. My role as a leader isn't to take on all of the tasks or be the know-it-all of all of the tasks, although I want to be. My role as a leader is to be able to delegate tasks and to build upon the team that I have, so that way one day they can take my position. okay? So that is my role. And in order for me to be all in building that team and supporting them, you need somebody to support you as well. So definitely build a strong support system. Focus on time management strategies that minimize mental fatigue. So one of the time management strategies that I do, I know exactly how long it takes me to get to work depending on which day that I'm going to work. I studied that as a science because I wanted to know how much time I had in the morning to get ready for work. I like to lollygag, and so in order for me to have that space and time to do that, I need to know how much time I need to get to work. And it takes me about an hour to get to work. Sometimes it takes me about 40 minutes to get to work. Sometimes it takes me about 35 minutes to get to work. Sometimes, and it all depends on the day of the week, and I kind of studied that to a science. So I use that strategy to see how much time I have in the morning to get ready. That way I can have that additional lounge time. One of the time management items that I have is a capsule wardrobe. Having a capsule wardrobe makes it so easy in the morning to choose different outfits. I do not have to think about what I'm going to wear every day because I've set up my wardrobe in a way where I can literally mix and match something that I want to wear for the morning, and I can just put it on. I'll look to get put together, I'll be confident, and I didn't have to think too much about it. I know how much time it takes for me to make my coffee. I have this coffee maker that makes coffee almost instantly, and I made a video about that coffee maker. If you haven't checked it out, please be sure to take a look at it. But the coffee maker that I have minimizes the amount of time that I need to take making coffee. I know how long it takes to complete certain tasks that I have to do at work, which helped me optimize my morning routine. Just knowing how much time it takes for some of the things that I want to do, or how much time it takes for the things that the boys want to do, and really incorporating that into my day lets me see the bigger picture of my day. And then I now know how much time I have left for editing, for shooting a video, for sprinkling in some of the things that I like to do. Speaking of things that I like to do, prioritizing self-care. It is extremely important to prioritize your self-care throughout all of this. Again, you are a woman in leadership. There are people looking to you for guidance, for validation, for leadership, for team building. It is really hard to show up as that person if you are not together yourself. I must get my nails done. I must get my hair done. I must have my wax appointment. I must go to Pilates. I must have quiet time for me at some points throughout the week. I must film for my vlogs and things like that. Those are the things that make me happy. And when I am doing those things that make me happy, I am my best self and I can show up for my staff. I went to a training before that talked about morale. And a lot of people are talking about the morale in workplaces. In order for leaders to be able to work on the morale of their teams, leaders have to work on their own morale, and you are responsible for that. You are responsible for your morale. And self-care is a big, big part in making sure that you are your best self and showing up every day. I hope this beginning discussion on these tips has been helpful to you, and again, I plan to expand this series to go deeper into each one of these items, and maybe it can help someone in a leadership position or a woman in a leadership position begin to take the steps to really rethink and restructure your routines at home or your routines at work, and time management, and building those strong bonds with individuals that will be validating and supporting to you, so that way you can show up as your best self every day. Thank you so much for watching this video, and until the next one, see ya.